Employee grievance handling or employee grievance management. There is great diversity in the workplace today, comparing employees from different age, gender, ethnic, and religious background. In such work environment, miscommunication and misunderstanding are more likely. If not managed properly, such miscommunication and misunderstanding will affect employees' morale and productivity. Negative publicity through social media can affect the employer's image and the brand, causing unnecessary embarrassment to the management. In such case, in some cases, such grievance can also lead to expensive and time time-consuming litigation. Employee grievance make barriers to success of the organization as well as make dissatisfaction to the employees. However, grievance is a common human reaction experiencing by all in many occasions. How to define employee grievances? As surpassed in 2009, grievance is an abstract term. Therefore, different scholars define the term differently. Definition 1. A grievance is any discontent or feeling of unfairness and in the workplace. It should be pertaining to work. Then, according to these definitions, the important terms are any discontent, or feeling of unfairness and pertaining to work. Second definition, grievance refer to any genuine or imaginary feeling of dissatisfaction or injustice which an employee experiences about his job and its nature, about the management policies and procedures which are expressed by the employee and brought to the notice of the management and the organization. Then, according to this definition, there are different important terms here: genuine, imaginary feelings, dissatisfaction, injustice, employee experiences expressed by the employees. These are the important terms of the second definitions. Fourth definition, it is any discontent of dissatisfaction expressed or not, and whether valid or not, arising out of anything connected with the organization, with the employee think, believe, or even feel is unfair, unjust, or inequitable that he has suffered. This definition expresses the discontent of dissatisfaction, discontent of dissatisfaction, express or not, valid or not, anything connected to the organization. An employee thinks, believe, feel unfair, unjust, and unequitable. Those are important terms of the definition, both definitions. Then the fifth one, employee grievance is concern, problem or complaint that an employee has about what their work, the workplace, or someone they work with his include management. Management grievance is a concern, problem, or complaint that employee has about their work, the workplace, or someone they work with. This include management. Then this idea highlight concern, problem, complaint, work, workplace, and someone as a special term. This is sixth one. As Richard, grievance is anything that an employee think or feel is wrong and is generally accompanied by an actively disturbing feeling. Grievance is anything that an employee think or feel which is wrong and is generally a complaint accompanied by an actively disturbing feeling. Then the important terms are anything, things, feels, wrong, disturbing feelings. Considering the above definitions and the importance point of each definitions, following are the summary of special term derived from each definitions. Any discontent, feeling, unfairness, genuine, dissatisfaction, injustice, imaginary, employee experiences expressed by the employee, work, workplace, formal way, hidden, not expressed, valid, invalid, thinking, belief, unfair, unjust, inequitable, suffering, concern, problem, complaint, someone, anything, wrong, disturbing feelings. Incident or events, wrong information, breaking equilibrium. When considering all special terms highlighted by each definition, we can find six broad themes. We can develop six broad themes. What are the broad themes? One is causes of grievances, imaginative nature, internal actions, equilibrium, results, behavior. Cause of grievances, imaginative nature, internal actions, equilibrium, results, and the last one, behavior. When cause of grievances, according to the special term derived from definitions, there is a cause of create a grievances. The grievances, as definitions, work or job, workplace or working surrounding, someone or people, and different incident or events, wrong informations may be the cause of grievances. The last definitions illustrate it is anything. Then anything relating to job, workplace, people engaged in the workplace, incident or events, and a wrong information are the root cause of employee grievances according to these six definitions. We assume that there are causes of We assume that the causes is either unfair or unjust or inequitable. Then worker lead to make internal action such as thinking, feeling, believing, suffering. If worker perceive the causes are unfair, unjust, or inequitable, then worker think to make internal action such as thinking, feeling, believing, or suffering. The worker's thinking, feeling, believing, or suffering might be either valid or invalid, or genuine or not genuine. For example, comparing to their peers, the workload of a worker is a very high. Then worker imagine the workload is not fair or justice. Then worker think or feel or believe or suffering. It is a valid or genuine reasons to the grievance. Valid or genuine reasons, genuine reasons to the grievance. However, comparing to the peers, the workload is fair to the worker. However, worker imagine that it is unfair or unjust. Then worker think or feel or believe or the suffering about the workload. The reality is that is not a valid or genuine reasons. That is not a valid or genuine reasons. It is invalid or burgers viage reasons. The reality is that is not a valid or genuine reason. It is invalid or burgers reasons. However, it is a grievance of a worker. If it is invalid or burgers, it is a grievance. It is a grievance. It is a grievance. If the worker think or feel or believe or suffer anything relating to the workplace, someone, incident, or from working information, it lead to break the equilibrium of the employee behavior. Breaking the equilibrium of the employee behavior. Equilibrium of the employee behavior. When breaking the equilibrium of worker's behavior, he or she feels discontent or dissatisfaction. It is the results of the grievance. Experiencing discontent or dissatisfaction relating to anything of the employment leading to employee reaction, such as holding the grievance, presenting as problem or complaining or making request to the management. Then as a result of breaking equilibrium, there are three actions. One is holding the grievance, not presenting the grievance, then keeping the grievance, suffer the grievance. Second, presenting the grievance as a problem or complaint. Then present the grievance as a problem or complaint. Then thirdly, worker can make request to solve the grievance. Then using formal method or the formal way, the worker express his or her real grievance to the management. Then first one, hold the grievance or keep in the mind, not present. Then secondly, the grievance present as a problem or issue. Then thirdly, the grievance present as a grievance to the management. Considering all basic theme, a model can be developed to explain the employee grievances. The employee grievances is starting from a cause or root, cause or root. If there is a cause of grievance, then the worker imagine the cause relating to the grievance. Cause relating to the grievance. Imaginative nature. As a result of imagination, the worker takes action internally. Internal actions. As a result of internal action, the balance or the equilibrium of employee behavior is going to break in equilibrium. As a result of breaking the balance or equilibrium of employee behavior is going to break. As a result of breaking the balance or equilibrium of workers' behavior, worker present the negative behavior. Results. Worker behavior is determined only gravity of his or her discontent or dissatisfaction. This is the comprehensive model for the employee grievance. It starts from the cause of employee grievance. Cause of employee grievance. The grievance arises in an employee only if there is a relevant reasons for it. The causes of employee grievance can be broadly categorized as work-related causes, work environment-related causes, people associated with the job, various incidents and misinformations. Only if the employee has a sensitive to the grievance does the employee care. Only if the cause of the grievance is unjust or unfair or inequitable will the employee pursue the cause of grievance. If not, it will not develop into the grievance. When the employee realizes that the cause of the grievance is unjust or unfair or inequitable, he or she is tempered to think or feel or believe or suffer about it. Thus, it may be valid or genuine act for the employee to think or feel, the believe or suffer about the grievance. Or it could be an valid or bogus effort. However, on the part of the employment, it is not a grievance. At this point, the employee normal behavior has broken down. It is not uncommon for the employee to exercise dissatisfaction or discontent as a result of the employee general imbalance. The employee is presented with the grievance related behavior due to dissatisfaction. One of the behaviors that the grievance is born by employee himself without informing anything. At that point, the other party will not be able to understand the employee grievance. The second way is the employee is presenting the grievance in some way. It can be presented as an issue or the borders the employee. Or the employee can file a grievance with management as allegations. Finally, a request can be made as a solution to the employee grievance. In this way, the employee can file a grievance in written or orally. In this model, cause of start from the cause of grievances, then these are the some way of causes. Then it lead to imaginative nature. Then worker imagine it is unfair, unjust, inequitable. Then this imaginative nature lead to internal actions. Internal action means thinking, feeling, believing, and suffering. Then it the thinking internal action lead to two outcome. One is valid or genuine, then invalid or bogus. Then come to the actually in imaginative nature. Again, imaginative nature. Then if the worker feel, think, believe, suffer, it is not valid reasons or genuine reasons, then break the equilibrium. When breaking the equilibrium, there is a two results: discontent, dissatisfaction. Then the results as a then the worker suffering discontent or dissatisfaction as a result of grievance. Then worker can present the grievance in basically two way: hidden manner, not presenting. Other way, worker can present as a problem, as a complaint, as a request. Why handling or managing employee grievances? There are different benefits and importance of handling employee grievance by the organizational management. Employee grievance is a hidden or presented dissatisfaction, and it arouses the emotional feeling of employee. Dissatisfaction leads to the low contribution of workers to his or her job. Dissatisfaction of single employee lead to dissatisfaction of two or more employee, and finally develop anti-attitude towards management among the employee. Anti-attitudes toward management lead to counterproductive behavior of the individual workers or group of workers. Counterproductive behavior may be a reason to trade union action such as strike. As Opathasa in 2009 explained the importance of grievance handling using this picture. Dissatisfaction or frustration of single employee regarding a grievance lead to develop dissatisfaction of frustration among the several employees. When a cause of grievance become a common cause of employee grievance, it lead to develop anti-attitudes toward the management. Anti-attitudes toward the management lead to dispute dispute between the employee and the management. Industrial dispute. As you know, industrial dispute is the main cause of environment of organizational success and the progress of success. Then it is clear if company is not giving proper concern or interest to solve a single employee grievance, it may be a finally industrial dispute, and it affect to the profit and the production of the company. When employee has a grievance, it directly affect to his or her day-to-day activity. Therefore, the grievance may result displacement effect. Displacement effect means that employee work time is divert from production tasks to the grievance processing. Another result of employee grievance is worker reaction results. Worker reaction results mean that employee reduce the work effort as a reason of the unfairness. Then one is displacement effect, other one is reaction effect. If the company adopt the good HR practices, then the company can use the employee grievance to develop appropriate HR policies and strategies. Considering employee grievances, company can formulate and implement the policies, procedures, and programs which lead to better application of human and the success of organization. Causes of employee grievance can use to develop HR practices. Another important of handling employee grievance. In addition to above, following benefits also can be gained through practicing proper employee grievance management. It encourages employee to raise concern without fear of reprisal. It provides a fair and speedy meaning of dealing with complaint. It prevents minor disagreement developing into more serious dispute. It serves as an outlet for employee frustration and discontent. It saves employers time and money as a solution are found for workplace problems. It helps to build organizational climate based on openness to and trust. Causes of employee grievances. Reasons for employee grievances are many, enormous. Employee grievance can usually be generated in one of the following three ways. One is factual. Other one is imaginary. The third one is disguise. A factual grievance arise. Factual grievance arise when legitimate needs of employee remain unfulfilled. As example, wage hike has been agreed but not implemented, citing various reasons. Imaginary. When an employee's dissatisfaction is not because of any valid reason, but because of a wrong perception, wrong attitude, or wrong information he or she has, such a situation may create an imaginary grievance. Through management is not at fault in such instance, still it has to clear the wrong perception immediately. Then disguise. An employee may have dissatisfaction for reasons that are unknown to him or his. If he or she are under pressure from family, friends, relatives, neighbors, he or she may reach the workplace with a heavy heart. If a new recruit get a new table, this may become an eyesore to other employees who have not been treated likewise previously. As opposed in 2009, following detailed list is given to explain the causes of employee grievances. First one, causes relating to the job. Causes relating to the job. Example, lack of capacity or no capacity to perform the relevant duties and responsibility of job. Assigned to perform a duty that is not in the job description given. The place on a job that does not match with employee knowledge and skills. Inadequate or incorrect training given. Assigning to many duties that he or she could not handle. Causes relating to work conditions. Change in the working time or place. Employee does not like. Many work hazards and unpleasant conditions. Poor relationship between group of employees and management or supervisor. Authoritative leadership style of supervisor. No availability of necessary material, equipment and other things to form the job successful. Courses relating to personnel management decisions, policies, procedures and practices. Wage and salary, incentives, promotions, transfer, layoff, professional training and development, performance evaluation, leave, discipline, recruitment and selection, unfavorable attitude towards trade union. Then causes relating to violations. Violation of collective agreement, working or decision making against the past practices, making unfair disciplinary actions, violation of discipline rules and procedures, ignoring responsibilities of the management. Then causes relating to inappropriate personal behavior, worker behavior, inappropriate worker behavior. Employees over ambitions. Employees over ambition. Employee has unrealistic self-esteem. Employee has unpractical attitude of the life. Employee has unbearable or unnecessary lifestyle. Employee has illegal involvement. According to this classification, first one is wage grievances. Under the wage grievances, there are different ways we can explain starting pay, automatic increase, merit increase, improper classification of job, employee wrongly classified, shift premium, vacation pay or bonus, call-in pay, improve incentives or fees rate. Second one, wage inequities, usually handled through collective bargaining negotiations or through supplementary wage agreement. Then third one, undesirable rate of production or working or speed up. Violation of time or production standard can be approached from the standpoint of the physical working condition or violation of principle of fair days work from fair days pay. The fifth one, disciplinary actions. Under the disciplinary action, undesirable, unreasonable rule, penalties without just cause, employee not properly notice of rules or penalties, reprimand or recording warnings, disciplinary layoff, discharges. Next one is physical working conditions, unsafe or unhealthy working conditions. Then the seventh one, supervisory practices, abuse of authority, intimidation of coercion, over supervision of snooping, inadequate supervision or failure to instruct properly, supervisor working on bargaining unit jobs, discrimination, favorism. The eighth one, personal right and privileges, leave of absence, failure to accord equal treatment or discrimination. The next one is violation of union rights, failure to give proper representation, undermining the union and undermining grievance procedure. Then past practices in workplace. This can be the basis for the grievance, particularly in area where the contract is silent or unclear, where a past practice has been violated by the management and employee may have a real grievance. But to be considered a past practice, the circumstance must be given repeated over an extended period of time, accepted explicitly or implicitly by both workers and management. As example, by verbal agreement or in writing without either side formally objective or while violating the contract, neither side has demanded that is part of the contract is enforced. The next one is failure of management to live up to their responsibility, particularly over health and safety condition is relating to this point. Then the next one is employees rule. These can be made and changed as long as they are consistent with the contract. But while they are in existence, they cannot be violated by the side and so they can be basis for a grievance. Okay, these are the another way of classification of causes of employee grievances. Then I think you can imagine the causes of grievances are countless. It depends on the person, personality or perception. Therefore, it is difficult to explain these are the grievances, these are not the grievances, because there are many sources we can find to explain the employee sources or causes of employee grievances. Then who is agreed? We can classify grievances according to where they come from and how they arise. But now we have to look at them according to who is the person affected the grievances. Who is the person affected the grievances? Individual grievance. An individual grievance is a complaint or request that an action by management has violated the right of an individual as set out in the collective agreement or law or by some unfair practices. Example of this type of grievance include discipline, demotion, dispute, um, withdrawal of benefits. Likewise, group grievances. A group grievances is a complaint by a group of individuals, for example, department or a shift that has been affected the same way and at the same time by an action taken by management. An example of the group grievance would be where the employee refused to pay a shift premium to the employee who worked an afternoon shift when the contract entailed them to it. Clearly, they should grieve the matter as a group rather than proceeding by way of individual groups. The third one, policy grievance. A policy grievance is a complaint by the union that an actions of management or its failure or refusals to act is a violation of the agreement that could affect all who are covered by the management. Then group grievances are often treated as policy grievances, but strictly speaking, they should be considered separately. A policy grievance normally related to the interpretation of the contract rather than the complaint of an individual. However, policy grievance may arise out of circumstance that could also prompt an individual grievance. Insofar as the union claimed the action taken by management implies an interpretation of the collective agreement that will work to the detriment of all employees, harmfulness of all employees. For example, management has assigned a steady day shift employee to work on an off shift without regard to seniority. The union might grieve in an effort to establish that seniority must be considered in such an assignment, even though an individual involved might have no complaint against the shift change. The point is that the culture, outcome, or the procedures of the grievance may have a detrimental effect on the local union at some point in the further, and the union must change it. Union grievance. A union grievance may involve a dispute arising directly between the parties to the collective agreement. For example, the union would grieve on its own behalf if management failed to deduct union dues as specified by the collective agreement. In this case, the union grievance is one in which the union considered its right to have been violated and not just the right of individual in the local union. Knowing employee grievances. As a proactive approach to employee grievance handling, management of the company has to identify the employee grievances. When employee is not present in the grievance and hold as hidden way, it is difficult to solve the employee grievance. But the bad effect as a result of grievance, employee grievance may be happened. Therefore, the management has to find out the employee grievances using several strategies. Strategy 1. Direct observation. Knowing of human behavior is requisite quality of every good manager. From the challenge behavior of employee, he should be able to snuff the causes of grievances. This This he cannot do without its knowledge to the employee. This method will give general pattern of grievances. In addition to normal routine, periodic interviews will be with the employees, group meeting and collective bargaining are specific occasions where direct observation can help in unfolding the grievances. Then the second one is complaint box. The boxes like suggestion box are placed at easily accessible places to the most employee in the organization. The employees can file anonymous complaint about their dissatisfaction in these boxes. Due to anonymity, the fear of managerial action is violated. Moreover, management interest is also limited to the free and fair views of employees. Third one, attitude survey or opinion survey. Attitude survey or opinion survey. The employee attitude survey is a management tool business owners or managers use to learn about the view and opinion of their employees on issues pertaining to the company and their role within the organization. It is both a methodological and a process to help management understand the different needs of organization from the perspective of the employee. The next strategy is exit interviews. If answered honestly, exit interviews can provide constructive reflections on the impact that the company culture has on its employee. By knowing the reasons for leaving the job, employer can make the best possible changes with improved management policies. Next one is open door policy. It is one of the most employee empowerment techniques in the workplace. Open door policy refer to open communication and transparency that allow them to be in touch with the senior management to get their grievances addresses. Next one is miscellaneous channels. Peer workers and trade union. Peer workers and trade union are two examples way of miscellaneous channel. Most of the time, when the employee has a grievance, it is presented or shared with the peers or the friend. Therefore, the peers or the friends are good channel to find out the employee grievance. Trade union also open to collect employee grievance and complaint. It is one of the union activity to handle the employee grievances. Those are the methods we can use to identify the employee grievances or the identify the workers who is suffering the grievances. Then we will have to see what are the methods we have to use handle the employee grievances. When handling employee grievances, the organization can use several methods. However, if company need to practice good grievance handling practices, company has to think about the following stages. Four-step approach. Initial level. Initial level at which grievance occur. The greatest opportunity to redress or the solve a grievance is to resolve it at the initial level at which it occurs. A worker's grievance should be resolved by their immediate boss, the first line supervisor. The prestige of the procedures usually involve three persons: the aggrieved employee or the grievance, his immediate boss, and the union representative. It is possible to involve the union in laying down the framework of the grievance procedures and thereafter restrain union involvement in the actual procedures, at least in the first two stages. Supervisory role needed to be strengthened with appropriate training in problem solving skill, grievance handling, and counseling. Then, intermediate level. If the supervisor is not treated results at the initial stage at supervisor's level, it is usually referred to the head of the concerned department. It is the immediate level. It is important and the management assume primary responsibility for the settlement of the grievance. At the intermediate level, grievance can be settled with or without union involvement. Then organizational level. If a grievance is not settled at the intermediate level also, it can be referred to the top management. Usually a person of a level not less than the general manager designated for the purpose of directly handling the issue. At this level, it is very difficult to reconcile the grievance in a conflicting interest. Then the third party in mediations level. If the grievance has not been settled bilaterally within the organization, it goes to a third party for mediation. Arbitration or adjudications or the matter may even be referred to the labor court. At this stage, the parties concerned less control over the way the grievance is settled. In the case of mediation, so conciliation or arbitration, the mediator has no authority to decide. But in case of labor court or and adjudications, the decision will be binding on the parties, subject to statutory provisions for appeal to higher courts. At any stage of grievance mechanism machinery, the dispute must be handled by some member of the management. In grievance redressal, responsibility lies largely within the management, and grievance should be settled promptly at the first stage itself. Then we will see several methods of handling employee grievance. First one is open door policy. According to open door policy, the doors of the officers of supervisor or the management, including CEO, must remain open for the employee to have an easy to access in case of issues or the problem. The team member should have the liberty to walk up to their team leaders and discuss issues with them on an open forum. The role of the managing director, chief executive officer, or the chairman is not just to sit in look cabin the entire day and shout on the employee. Instead, they should act as a strong pillar of support for them. The healthy interaction amongst the employees is essential for a positive ambience at the workplace. The management must address the employee from time to time to motivate them and expel the best out of them. An open door policy is open broad. It encompasses employees' topic including complaint, question, suggestions, concern with management, safety concern, feedback, both to provide in the employer to ask for it is from employer and reporting problem with other employees. The policy is typically designed with the intent of creating an environment in which employees feel they are able to express any questions or concern without fear. It can also signal to the employee that the company wants to be transparent in its operations. Employers hope to keep employee morale high by ensuring employee their voice will be heard. Employers also benefit from open door policy because it often means the employer will hear of issues before the issues escalate. You are rather hear from an employee than from a lawyer. Advantages of an open door policy. Open door policy encourages effective communication between the employee and the management. The employee do not feel left out at the workplace as they know there is someone who support them always at the union of crisis, time of crisis. This way they get attached to the management and are always loyal toward the organization. There is no room for confusion with the employee directly interact with their supervisor. They feel motivated and strive hard to live up to the expectations of the management. They never badmouth the management or their organization. Open door policy encourage healthy discussion at the workplace. Individual exchange idea and come to an innovative solution benefiting all. The employee are free to discuss their ideas with the supervisor and gain from their talent and monitoring. Gone are the days when people used to fear their bosses. Nowadays, people are not fear for the boss. The Hitler approach does not work in the current scenario. The management must respect the decision of the employee to expect the same in return. The management must make an employee feel indispensable for the organization and should lend a sympathetic ear whenever required. The open door policy enables the employee to seek their boss's help and freely discuss things with them for better clarity. Open door policy is essential for effective communication, proper feedback, and better output. While the help of the open door policy, the employee do not crib among themselves, rather talk to their supervisors, clear all these doubts, and look forward toward a long-term association with the organization. Risks with the open door policy. Unfortunately, despite the best of intentions, open door policy doesn't always result in employees feeling they can be open and express any and all concern. Part of the reasons for this is receptiveness of individual who hear employee concern. If a manager or HR professional does not take employee issues seriously, that will encourage employees, regardless of what any policy in the handbook says. This highlights the important point that is policy is only as good as the people who carry it out. If organization has an open door policy, it is important to ensure that all supervisors and HR professionals understand their role in upholding this respect of the organizational culture. Another concern with open door policy is that they may encourage employees to skip intermediate step in dispute resolutions and go straight to the higher management to resolve any issues. While this may occasionally be necessary, such as when the direct supervisor is part of the complaint, it can also be a bottleneck for dispute resolution if the wrong resources are being tied up for matters that could have been resolved more simply. It can also mean the employee and the managers alike do not get the opportunity to solve problem on their own. Once a pattern is established for going to the highest level first, this pattern can be tough to break. The key here is for all level to know when it is appropriate to redirect a concern back down the chain of command. Then Koisas or Kosai method. Koisas or Kosai method. Kosai method is a third party representation to solve the employee grievance. It may be either internal or external personality. Most of the time, Kosai method invites the outside specialist to solve the employee grievance. Most employee and the management have to agree to solve the employee grievance from the third party. The right to go to higher level in the grievance procedures and ultimately to attribute arbitration is almost always the right of the trade union, not the employee. If the matter is not resolved at the same level of the grievance procedures, the union may take the matter to arbitration. Arbitration is a type of informal court. The arbitrator is the judge, but unlike the court, this judge is paid for by both the union and the employee equal amount regardless of who wins the case or entirely by the employer. Committee approach. Grievance committee is a committee representing the relevant parties of the company to resolve employee grievances. It may be formed as permanent committee or a committee which is formed according to the case by case. Usually the committee consists with general manager, HR manager, sectional head of the grievance and the trade union representative. The participation of the parties is determined by the company. Counseling. Employee counseling is a psychological technique and that is used in various forms. The main objective of it is to support the employees by providing them advice, guidance, suggestion to solve the prevailing problem and improve physical and mental conditions, performance and which can take many forms. Some companies have professional counselors as permanent basis or temporary basis to facilitate the employee grievances. Then grievance settlement procedure. A grievance procedure is a formal way for an employee to raise a problem or complaint to their employer. Formal grievance procedure can act as platform to resolve various issues of employment, also can improve communication in the organization. A grievance procedure is a mean of internal dispute resolution by while an employee may have his or her grievance addressed. Levin in 1983 has stated that grievance procedures facilitate individual workers or union to challenge management decision over a wide range of wage and working conditions, and it works as a form of communication of information. Processes may differ somewhat from employer to employer and under various collective bargaining agreements. However, most view have certain general processes in common. Step 1. There are different steps. There are different steps for formal grievance settlement procedures. Number of steps number of steps is determined by the company. Following is a formal step that can be used by an organization to develop a formal grievance handling procedure. Step 1. Grievance are brought to the employee immediate supervisor, presented to the immediate supervisor. This may be either an informal process or the beginning of the formal process. Generally, there will be a requestment that the grievance is submitted in writing, usually grievance form. Usually, the supervisor will review the grievance to determine whether it is valid. Also, most grievance procedures will require that the submission occurs within a specified time frame following the event or the incidents. These possible outcome may occur at this stage of the process. First one, the supervisor may determine that no valid grievance exists. The grievance may be resolved. Thirdly, the grievance may not be resolved to the employee's satisfaction, and it will move forward to the next step in the process. There are three outcomes. One is supervisor may determine that no valid grievance exists, no valid grievance exists. Grievance may be resolved. Then secondly, resolve the grievance. Thirdly, the supervisor feel there is no room to solve the grievance at his or her level. Therefore, it should be lead to the next level. Then step 2. The next step typically involves the next level of supervisor in the company hierarchy. In most union environment, the employee will be presented by the union and is not presented in the review process. A failure to resolve the grievance will lead to the next step in the grievance process. Step 3. The third step in the process will lead to a review by the higher level of company management and priority a higher level union representative. Ultimately, the grievance may reach the highest level as set forth by the contract. Then step 4, arbitration. If the grievance remain unresolved through the highest level of management within the company, many procedures include provisions by which an outside arbitrator may be called in to resolve their issues. Senior leaders from both sides are typically involved in the arbitration process. Following is an example for the formal grievance settlement procedure. At the stage one, first step, the worker present his or her grievance to the intermediate supervisor or intermediate boss, and waiting one day waiting 1 day to get the solution. Within 1 day, immediate boss has to get the solution to the grievance. If the solution is satisfied, then the case is over. However, if the worker is not happy about the solution of if the immediate boss is failure to get a good solution, then the worker move to the second step. At the second step, the worker present his or her grievance to the sectional head or the immediate boss's boss. Within 2 days, the sectional head has to get the solution to the grievance. If the worker is not happy to the solution of the sectional head, then the worker move to the third level of the grievance handling ladder. Third level. At the third level, the worker present the grievance to the union. Then union representative review the cases of grievance and the solution given by the immediate boss and the sectional head. Reviewing those, the grievance is presented to the HR manager. At this stage, HR manager has good enough information about the grievance. Trade union representative and the worker are waiting 4 days to get solution. Within 4 days, the solution for the grievance is given by the HR manager. The acceptance or rejection of the solution of the HR manager is determined by the union representative and the worker. If the solution is not happy to the worker, then the grievance is to presented to the general manager or the CEO of the company by the trade union leaders. Within 7 days, the general manager or CEO of the company has to make suitable solution. Again, the acceptance or rejection of the solution is determined by the workers and the trade union leader. If accept the solution, then the grievance is over. However, if the solution is not happy to the worker as well as the trade union leader, then the both parties of the management and the trade union have to move to the final step. Final step is the arbitration, which is a private process where the disputing parties agree that one or several individuals can make a decision about the grievance after receiving evidence and the hearing argument. This is the formal grievance handling example for formal grievance handling procedure. Role of formal grievance procedures. Role of formal grievance procedures. Proper system bring grievance into the open so that management can notice and learn about it and try take corrective measures. Secondly, it helps in prevailing grievances from assuming big proportion. The management can identify and solve a grievance before it becomes a major source of dispute. Thirdly, it provides employee a formalized means of emotional release for their dissatisfaction. Even if a worker does not use the grievance system for his own emotional release in a particular solution, he feel better because he knows the system is better to use if he want to do so. It builds within him or her sense of emotional security. Fourth one, it helps in establish and maintaining a work culture or way of life. As problems are interpreted in the grievance procedure, the group learners how is to expected to respond to the policies that have been set up. Next one, it act as a check upon arbitrary or impulsive argue management action. Mean a manager knows that his actions are subject to challenge and review in a grievance system. He become more careful in taking his decision. It shows commitment level of employer to resolve internal matters in an open, transparency and throughout thorough manner. It helps to promote harmonious relationship among all the actors of the employment. The next one is formal and strict grievance procedure help to maintain discipline in the organization. The next one is it helps to build an organizational climate based on openness and the trust. The last one is it should various level in the organization to know of the kind of issues and facts that concern workers and managers. The principles of handling employee grievances. As OPA said in 2009, following principles have to be followed by the immediate supervisor when handling employee grievances. Treat as grievance as important. Treat all grievance as important. The grievance true or untrue. First one. The grievance true or untrue, rational or irrational are to be given proper and sufficient consideration because of the grievance is more important issues of the employee. Obtain all informations. The grievance should not be resolved using without adequate information. A good understanding of the grievance can be obtained by obtaining all the relevant information and necessary data. Situation to grievance should be presented with such a good understanding it lead to presentation of a more successful solution. Discuss, not argue. When an employee raising a grievance, the grievance must be listened to carefully, even if the grievance is an accusation against the supervisor. He or she should listen carefully to it. Even if the grievance is felt to be false or invalid, the grievance should be heard. Then proper listening. When an employee make a grievance, the officers who is hearing them should listen to the grievance as important. Listening carefully the voice of the employee can reduce the stress on the employment. Then build trust. The supervisor must have built trust in the employee in presenting the employee grievance. As OPAT said in 2009, the following are the way that can be used to build the trust on the employee. First one, the state or indicate that the employee has the right to present the fact regarding the grievance. Second, to determine that employee can spend needed time to present and discuss the matters. Third, try to listen to resolve employee grievance with an open mind without coming to preconceived notice. Next one, a fair consideration is made. Last one, demonstrate genuine interest to the employee grievance. Then they accept mistakes. If the employee grievance is caused by the supervisor, admit the mistake commit, committed by the supervisor. Then utilize the authority wisely. The supervisor's authority should be exercised more carefully in dealing with the employee grievance. The employee may be further embarrassed by the realization that the grievance will be resolved by abusing the supervisor's authority in some way. It is not an attempt to resolve the grievance but to cause additional grievances. Give the decision promptly. The employee should be notified as soon as a solution to the grievance is determined. If the employee is not satisfied with the solution given the grievance, he or she will have to take further action. On the other hand, the employee also need to certain amount of time to accept the solution, provide a solution to the grievance and present it to the employer as soon as possible so that the grievance can resolve in a short period of time. Do not do a follow up. It is not enough to just address the employee grievance. It is necessary to follow up whether the decision is implemented or not. In most cases, solutions are made, but the solution may not work. It is also important to find out the employee grievances has been resolved during the implementation of the solution. Seek expert advice if necessary. If the supervisor needs additional assistance in resolving an employee grievance, he or she may seek the assistance of knowledgeable executive in such case. It enables employee to provide a more successful solution. Then maintaining records for further reference. The last one, get a proper training on grievance handling. One of the most important factors in solving employee grievances is the ability of handling to resolve grievances. It is important to conduct training program as not all officers in the organization are adapt to the skills of resolving employee grievances. Okay, that is enough for the topic of employee grievances.